We now continue with part 2 of the history of God. So, when we left off, the medicine people had been transformed into shaman and were now working to protect the people from everything. And that's how things stayed for a significant amount of time. This now takes us into the next age. Under this new system, the people advanced to new heights and gained more advanced ways to survive, and thus we enter the time of Babylonians. As the people began to prosper, they began to build civilization for the first time. They basically began to build huge communities that required even greater levels of specialization. Everyone in the community had some role to play in the development and prosperity of these first great civilizations. However, not everyone was equal. For the first time, the resources weren't shared equally among the people. In fact, some people became very different and also began to adopt entirely new roles previously unseen. One was that of ruler. These were people who directly guided the affairs of the other people. They were basically an offshoot of the shaman of the past. And having realized that the people needed them more than they needed the people, shaman turned ruler began to take charge. Now, in the beginning, this was a beneficial arrangement. The people were led down a defined path, no longer merely just trying to survive, and thus, for the first time, the people had a purpose. Of course, the shaman didn't all become rulers. Most, in fact, happily remained shaman, working now to understand the deeper meaning and reality of the life they found themselves in. However, for the first time, the people also began to wonder why they existed, for which, of course, they turned to the shaman for answers. Over time, as the people became more prosperous, the shaman began to provide answers to the question of why the people existed. Of course, by this point, the shaman had learnt that they needed to protect their positions in society. Thus, they provided answers that ensured the reasons for existence included them. The shaman, for the first time in human history, began to weave tales of creation. Each society, of course, had different versions of the same basic idea, that some almighty beings created everything that was or ever will be. And for the most part, this was usually a process of violence and war, often pitting good versus evil. As time continued on, these tales became more and more elaborate. In most cases, the almighty beings began to take on more human-like forms, most of the times even taking on the same roles that the various people adopted, in this way linking these new gods to the people and ensuring a bond of sorts. It quickly became evident that the gods could be used to shape and mold the actions and behaviors of the people. Thus, the shaman were transformed into priests and clerics. Their job was now to interpret the will of the gods and share it with the people, all done with the help and support of the rulers, of course. As before, when times were good and the people couldn't really see a direct need for the gods, the people questioned their support. However, the priests and the rulers found new ways to ensure their own positions while maintaining order among the people. Thus, the gods became in need of direct worship and sacrifice. The rulers benefited from this by now being chosen by the gods to rule the people. The priests benefited by ensuring their comfortable place within the society was secure, and the people benefited by there being order and structure to their lives. And all in all, in the beginning, it was actually a fairly good arrangement. Like everything else, nothing lasts forever. Sadly, not all gods were the same among the different peoples. Thus, different people began to favor different gods, which of course caused trouble for both the rulers and the priests. So, to help curb any internal hostility among their own people, the rulers sent the people out to fight all outsiders. Anyone whose beliefs were different or who worshipped a god not acceptable to the people was targeted as a threat. This allowed the rulers and priests to focus the people in entirely new ways, yet it also allowed the people to begin conquering the other people and converting them to their beliefs. those who didn't convert were killed off or sacrificed to the gods, in order to appease them, of course. Over time, this battling led to the downfall of these first great civilizations. Those who became too big and successful quickly found they couldn't support the people, and the others were simply destroyed. Now, since we don't have enough time to talk about the next period in time as a complete section, we'll stop here and move on to part 3. So, see you there.